Facebook, and YouTube. We are back on Keeping It Real with Candace. Man, it's been a long time since I seen my dog. Shout out to call you Kern today.
Nah. It's been a while.
It's been a while. But Terence, I'm call you by government name. He is on the show today. I brought Terence on here because I like a lot of the statuses he puts on Facebook. And he talks about a lot of topics that, you know, most African American men won't bring up. But what I like about my dog Terence, he doesn't mind talking about those things that really inspire people. And he talks a lot about the community and helping people. And that's what I'm using my platform for, is to help others and to get the word out so that we as a people can help each other. And like I said in my videos prior, as one helps another, keep putting a hand back until we all are successful together. All right, Terence.
Right.
Normally on the show, I'll do a definition or what the topic that we're talking about. And today I wanted to talk with him about community service, his ideas, and the things that he's going to do in the future with his career and with his family. So, Terence, what does community service mean to you?
Community service to me means simply that, mainly just giving back to your community. Mm-hmm. A lot of people are in different situations in their life, but I think that we all are extremely blessed where we can give some type of knowledge or insight back to not only just the young people, but the community as a whole. Right. You know, any type of service, whether it be through a nonprofit or, you know, volunteering with Big Brothers Big Sisters or YMCA or, you know, even if you want to start your own, you know, I definitely think that is something that, you know, that's how we start, you know, community service and just giving back. It's more than just money.
Yes, it is.
You know, it's especially time. Time, we all, you know, we know that time is very vital. Yes. Something that we can't get back. So, you know, it's easy for, you know, for certain people to just donate money, but donating that time and being consistent. So, definitely something that is very much needed in our community. So
my question to you is, and everybody has their own, I would say, resume. What have you done to give back to the community? Like, what type of things are you involved in?
Oh man.
No, don't give me a list.
No, man. I mean, to be honest, and I say this, and you know, I'm very thankful. God has blessed me to meet some amazing people.
Okay.
I'm not gonna lie on that. And the thing that I started working within the community when I was about 12 years old. I used to go back to Queens, New York, which is my original birthplace, but I've been in Virginia for the majority of my life. But I used to go back home and I used to work at a summer camp. And I was 12 years old. And it was then, and it's funny how things kind of turn back around and come back. Yeah, they always kind of come back around. So, you know, I really just started getting more active into my community. I would probably say about 7 to 8 years ago. Just really just starting to get back. And, you know, I just started with just seeing someone who was active in the community. They posted up a flyer, and I just showed up. Okay. And I liked what they were doing. It was I can't remember what event it was for. I wasn't a part of it then, but it was just an event that I saw someone else throw. So, you know, when I went, you know, I enjoyed seeing people come together. Right. You know, it's no attitudes. It was all about, you know, one focused goal. So at that point, I was like, you know what? Okay, well, this is something that I know that I can do, because for me, it didn't feel like work. Yeah. It's just natural. When you have a gift and a passion, it just flows. So what I'm involved in now, I am the founder of the Blueprint of Manhood program, which is a young man program for young men ages 7 to 17. Okay. We focus on life skills, mentorship. We just had a session yesterday where we spoke on police interactions, how young men of color should respond, you know, in certain situations, which is huge. The session before that, we talked about grooming and chivalry, the importance of how to treat yourselves, each other, and, you know, your significant other, how to tie a tie, which is important. So we focus on a lot of issues within, you know, our community. I'm a volunteer with Big Brother Big Sisters. I go to that about once a week, so about 4 times a month, for about 45 minutes or so. I also serve on the newly appointed Hopewell Youth Commission, so shout out to the commission members out there. We are planning wonderful events for the community. We recently just participated. This is spread. Tri-Cities. Very spread. Blueprint of Manhood is essentially our focal point is in Petersburg, but we're looking to expand. So Blueprint of Manhood is in Petersburg. Obviously, Hopewell Youth Commission, that's in Hopewell. Big Brothers Big Sisters, that's in Hopewell. I'm also a part of the Hopewell Parks and Rec Commission in Hopewell. Also a part of the organization of churches, OC3 in Hopewell, which is an organization with churches and concerned citizens. They kind of come together, put their ideas together. It's a few things that I'm forgetting, but really don't mean to toot my own horn, but it was one of those things where...
I tooted for you.
It's one of those things where, it's just one of those things where I try to just do what I can.
Right.
It's more than just about money. It's about investing time,
yes.
Reading it to the kids. I just read to some kids at a school in Hopewell doing Black History Month.
And not just in February do we have to do Black History, we can do Black History.
We are Black 365.
Okay.
Black 65, just for the record. So which that is important.
Yeah.
That's a couple ways that I give back. I'm missing some stuff, but
it's okay. You put it out there, and another reason I brought you up is I had another friend, remember Maurice? I brought Maurice on here to talk about how he got his PhD. And I want to continue to bring the African American perspective on here because people don't always know that you're actually doing this type of stuff.
Right.
There's an assumption of what Black men are doing.
Right.
Or what they're into and what they're not involved into, and everybody ain't good, everybody's bad. But these are examples of people that are giving back. Right. So do you specifically just work with males or do you work with females?
Oh, I work with anybody. With anybody. I work with anybody. It's not when I give back to the community, it's one of those things where I don't really have a set agenda. I guess depending on what it is. Like obviously the Blueprint of Manhood is just for young men. Right. But we've had young girls come to the event because they were coming along with their brothers. Yeah. So obviously, at that time, I'm not going to kick them out. So I mean, we try to have something for for the young princesses. So I mean, I didn't generally work with the community. I love working with the community, but I also understand that, and also trying to, like you said, put that positive man of color out there. Right. That's essentially who we're attracting. You know what I'm saying? So the reality of it is like, just want our young men, especially of color, to just think outside of the box. I know it can get hard, and it took me a while myself to get out of that box.
So this is my question to you: how did you? And I call it a hamster wheel, and I call it also a slave mentality because you learn to work for others. You learn to just like even when I went to school, is to get your diploma and work for somebody else. You learn to just yield under the master, and you just kind of like the servants. So how did you get your mindset out of that?
I would have to say the first time that I knew I had to do something, when my son was born. When my son was born, at that time I made a lot of dumb mistakes. Growing. As young men and as people in general, we grow. We all have a past. So it was at that moment where I decided that I had to do something different. Now granted, it took me a while because once again, it was one of those, I get up, fall, get up, fall, get up, fall. So at some point I had to learn and I had to put it together. So it was at that point, so I was about 21, where I realized that I needed to change. So, it's extremely hard, especially given the circumstances that you see around you. Right. You see guys your age or younger, being murdered or going to jail. So you tend to think that you're going to fall in the same equation. You tend to think not, you know what I'm saying? You don't see yourself out of it. You know what I'm saying? Now there are a lot of young men who have been blessed early to see that. I was just one of those that just didn't catch it. I didn't catch it until later. So it was one of those things where I really just had to sit down and think to myself, like, man.
Decision.
Yeah, it was a decision. I had to. I had to literally just say, man, I have a family now. It's not about me. I have to decide that I want better. But I've always been that guy that just always knew that I just didn't want to work for anybody else. So I just, even as a child, I just always knew whatever I did, I wanted to own whatever I do. So now, whenever I try to do something now, I just try to keep that at the forefront. So
I like what you call the blueprint.
Blueprint of manhood.
Blueprint of manhood. But blueprint is also like before you build the building. It's like the skeleton. You draw it. You put the manifestation on the paper, and then you go in and do the work to actually build the building. I guess so. My question is to you: what are you inspiring to do? I guess as a business of your entrepreneur on your own, outside of the community work, because it's something that you want is revenue. You have to talk about that.
Of course. Of course. It's definitely something. I eventually want to open up my own practice.
Like a mental health.
Mental health practice, mentorship practice. I'm currently in school for counseling. Okay. Online. So I want to open up my own counseling practice in that field, dealing with, you know, youth counseling, marriage counseling, just counseling in general. And one thing that is something that's needed, especially within people of color. Like, we don't really like counseling.
Yeah, we don't like talking about.
We don't like talking about stuff, which is
under the rug.
Exactly. But it's only so long that you can sweep stuff under the rug before you trip over it. You know what I'm saying? So the reality of it is.
Wait. Say that again.
It's only so long you can sweep stuff under the rug before you trip over it. I mean, so I mean, one of those, and once again, like, and this is just like transparency moment, because I'm, you know, it was one of those things where, you know, it's hard. You know, it's hard, you know, trying to open up to people that you may or may not know and tell them what you're going through. So, you know, that's just one of my goals, to open up my own, you know, practice, or, you know, be some type of guidance counselor, youth counselor. That's my end all be all. Like, but essentially, of course, I want to work for myself. Yeah. So that's.
And we're on the same road, you know. I went to Virginia State for social work. My main field is the counseling side of things or whatever. And which I talk with my friends, we're going to open our own dance company and put the mentoring beside it.
Right.
You know, the job I'm doing that just because I need to pay my bills. Right. But eventually, you know, you want to do stuff on your own so you can do it your own way. You know? And so I like that. But what you said again, sweeping it under the rug. In a lot of my videos, I talk about seeing. I don't know if you've seen the episode of Iyanla. She did an episode called The Mitchell Brothers. If you ever get a chance, have you looked at that yet?
I have to watch.
It's a part 1, a part 2, and part 3 is gonna come out. I'm gonna cover that. But it shows black men expressing themselves. Right. Ready for the process, expressing themselves, and going through it. And so that's why I was like, it's so good to see brothers expressing themselves, like you said, instead of sweeping under the rug. Because if you don't ever deal with it, it's gonna deal with you.
Yeah, it's one of those things.
You're gonna be angry all the time. You're gonna be frustrated all the time. You're gonna be just mad at the world because you've never dealt with what was in front of you. And I like the fact that you said a lot of times my children give us the will to say how I am to them is impressionable. So how you are to your daughter and your son, they look at that. So if daddy off the chain, I'm gonna be off the chain too. But if daddy got his stuff together, I want to have my stuff together too. And now that you have a daughter, it's like, what type of man are you gonna be in front of her? Exactly. So if you're mirroring a positive relationship with the woman that you're with, she'll know what, because you're her first boyfriend. And how you treat her is how she thinks the next man is going to treat her. And how you treat your girl is how she's like, okay, well, how he treat mommy? That's right. You know, so how you mirroring your male relationship with her is how she'll go out into her life. And I learned that, you know, as a woman myself. And so I just like seeing the way you and your partner, y'all work together. You know, and how y'all gonna do for her, because the importance of an African American man or a man period in a woman's life is so important.
True. That is true.
It's so important. Y'all like, y'all the head.
That is true.
And so, you know, we're the pillars. To hold the building up. And so we falling after y'all. So you helping these young men are preparing them for their future relationships with their women. Or the people that they'll impact, because they're going to see Kern. I like the way Kern's doing his thing. I'm trying to get where he at. So then when he goes into his life, he knows how to treat a woman. He knows how to get the job done. He knows how to dress, like I say, tie a bow tie. Simple stuff that people don't. What you mean? A lot of young men don't know how to tie a tie.
Exactly. And you know, the thing about it is,
they're single mamas.
Exactly. And the thing about it is, at the program that we have with the tying of the ties, we had guys, and I'm just gonna speak for myself. I'm not gonna call anybody out, but it was one of those things that I had to refresh myself on, because I've never really been one to wear a lot of dress clothes all the time. So I've been taught how to tie a tie, but it was never consistent. So for me, it was one of those things where, okay, not only are we teaching these young men how to tie a tie, we're teaching grown men the same thing. So the problem with us is we got to get out our own way. We have to stop feeling like
stop. I'm gonna keep stopping you every time you drop a jewel. Now say it again.
We have to get out our own way.
We have to get out of our own way. How can you get out your own way?
I mean, we have to understand the bigger goal. The bigger goal, in my opinion, is, like I said, I'm not afraid to be transparent. If I need help or with some type of assistance or whatever, I'm not afraid to say, you know what, I don't know how to tie a tie. And I'm 31 years old. Like, now I consistently know how to do it, but years ago I didn't know how to do it. But the thing about us is, we, you know, sometimes we get so ashamed that we don't say anything. And that makes things worse.
It does.
So I mean, we had a few kids that was there and they was tying their tie and we was learning with them. But see, that's the purpose of the Blueprint program. It's not just us teaching them, like they're teaching us as well. You have different generations in this one area, in this program. So you have all different guys as far as a volunteer point. You have all different guys who are, you know, some have been in the military, some have, you know, been in jail before, some are pastors, some are, all of these people are different type of people in the community. Whereas if we're standing in front of young men, they may not relate to me, but they can relate to him. They can't relate to him, they can relate to him. So it's about giving them some type of person that they can relate to, and then provide mentorship with that person. We want to build trust, but the only way to build trust is consistency. See
Stop you again. Say it again. Say it again.
The only way to build trust is consistency.
See, y'all hear Kerm over here? He missing out on his call. He need to be on somebody's pool.
People tell me that all the time, man. People tell me that all the time. I need to be a preacher, man. I mean, if that's the case, I'm not gonna run from him. But you know, it's consistency, especially.
I think it's just a part of you. It's just who you are.
Yeah.
You express yourself and it's positively, but it really comes from the heart.
It has to be. I spend so much time of myself. Like I spent so much time being so negative on myself when I was younger. Wow. You know what I'm saying? So it just got to a point where nobody could beat me worse than I could beat myself.
Wow.
That's, to be honest, that's fact. Like nobody could be like the things that certain people say about me or whatever growing up, and even now it's like whatever. Right. But it's just the way I react to it. Yeah. So once I got into that point where I had to get out my own way, I just had to. So it's just one of those things that you just try to keep the goal on mind, like. What is this program for? Not even just this program, anything that I'm involved in. What is the overall goal of what we're doing?
Right. That's good. And I want to ask you, I would like to bring you back because I stated prior that I wanted to do the importance of fathers.
Oh, yeah.
So, I would like to bring you back if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
Talking about the importance of fatherhood. That's just a side note.
Absolutely.
I wanted to ask about the police thing. How are you guys teaching the young men about dealing with the police?
You know, dealing with the police is always a very touchy subject. Yeah. It's extremely touchy. So, fortunate enough, we were able to have the Petersburg police chief come, and he spoke. But we had former Sheriff Epps. He came and he spoke as well. So it was one of those conversations where we had the opportunity to ask questions. I encourage them to ask questions along with the volunteers. Yeah. You know, let's ask questions. Let's figure out why this seems to be happening to us more than it's happening to any other race. Right. What is it that we're doing? You know, we had discussions, and you know, we understand that, you know, just certain cops are their intent is to just shoot. I mean, that's just the reality of it. Certain cops, they see blackness and they automatically assume something. You know?
But doesn't that go all the way back to slavery? Am I by myself on that?
It does. It does.
Because back in the day, police were taught, during slavery times when we finally were free, they still were abusing our community. So, you know, that means to me it's still there. I don't know.
It is. It is very there. It is just more hidden. See, back in the day, if you wanted to be racist, you can just openly say it. You can just say colors over here, whites over here. See, now you have to. Now it's more dressed up. Now it's okay. If I want to come into your establishment, you could turn me away because my clothes are too baggy. Yeah. It's more dressed up now. You see what I'm saying? In certain cases, some are still actually blatant. Yeah. But some of it is just more hidden. You know, I went to a spot, it was years ago though, but I went to a restaurant. But at the time, you know, it was nighttime, so we went to a little spot one time, and they told me that I couldn't get in because I had dreads. So, you know, once again.
The hair thing.
The hair.
Because our hair, it's kinky, it's curly, it's natural.
Exactly. But, you know, once again, that just goes to show the importance of us taking the time to get to know ourselves, but at the same time, you know, joining together instead of us going to them. We can just go to our own spot.
Hello, and see, that's what I was talking about too. We having our own communities, our own businesses, and somebody said something about start making more Black Academy schools. Exactly. I'm so in agreement with that. It's a dude, his name is Phil. He's on the Advice show. He talks about doing educational schools for the Black community, not just regular public high schools, but where our children can be safe, but also learn our history.
Right.
You know, because they never teach us to write history until we
Exactly.
You know, you find more. I found more at my college professors about Black history than I did in regular school because they were honest.
They're not going to teach you.
They were brutally honest in college.
Our schools are not going to teach us that.
They're not going to teach us. So my question to you: have you had a bad experience with the police?
Oh man, too many. Listen, too many.
Like, what you mean?
Listen. All right.
Give me one.
I'll give you my most recent. My most recent was, and I actually was on Facebook Live when I did this. I went to Florida to go see my son. This was last year. And I had rented a car. And I was in the left lane. I want to say I was in North Carolina. I want to say, what was the county? Clay County? I forgot. But anyway, I was in North Carolina. And I didn't have the heat on in the car. But it was fairly on, but it wasn't all the way on. But I had my hood on. So I was behind a 18-wheeler truck. And there was a cop. And he was sitting off to the side, and when I passed him, he got out, he came out, and what he did, and it was very weird, what he did was, by this point, he caught up to me, but he sped up to me, and he was in the passenger side lane, because it was only two lanes on the highway, and he came up, to pull right up next to me, he looked over at me, then he slowed down, and then he got behind me. So he got behind me, so he said, he pulled me over, he said, do you know why I'm pulling you over? So I said, no, sir. So he said, well.
Do we ever know why?
Never do, but he pulled me over. He said, I pulled you over because you were going, I think he said you were going 65 into 60 or something like that. And you were riding up too close on the truck. Now, mind you, if I'm doing 65 and I'm driving behind the truck, then that means the truck is going faster than, but forget all that. We know. Anyway, it didn't make sense. So I said, all right. So then he said, so he asked me for my license and registration. I told him it was a rental car, but you know, with the rental car, everything is still good. So he said, well, are you from here? So I said, well, no. I said, I'm from Virginia. So he said, well, in North Carolina, we could pull you over if you go over about 1 mile. He said, but, you know, since you're not from here, I'm just going to go ahead and let you go. We're just going to make sure everything checks out and goes. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, this is going better than what I thought it was. Because I'm like, now mind you, I just watched this dude come up, look at me, and then slow down and get behind me. So I'm like, okay, maybe I'm tripping. Okay,
you ain't tripping. You saw what you saw.
Man, and next thing I know, the man came back to the vehicle and told me to get out the car. So I said, what do I need to get out the car for? So he said, listen, I just want you to go, you know, come back and sit in my car for my safety. So I'm like, huh? I said, that doesn't make sense. So he said, listen, you either get out of the car or I'm going to give you a ticket. So I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, man, I cannot afford this ticket right now. I'm going to go see my son. I'm being honest. So I'm like, you know what? It is what it is. Mind you, all of this, at this point, my phone is, all this is on live. So when I get out the car, mind you, it was one cop that pulled me over. When I get out the car, it's like 2 or 3 of them behind him. So I'm like, all right, so then I get in the car. I'm sitting there. So he asking me the same questions that he been asking. So where you going? So what's going on with this? And while he talking, I happen to see a K9 unit come off to the right of me. The only reason I knew because the dog had to go to the bathroom. So I saw the dog in the bushes, and then the dog came and they sniffed the car. So then they had the K9 unit go around the car. Then the dog started barking. So I said, no, I back up. So I asked the officer, I said, is there a reason why there's a K9 unit out here? So he said, oh, you know, just checking some stuff, you know, procedures, all that. So I'm like, you know, they hit me with the procedure word, which I already knew. So they circled the dog around the car a couple times. Then next thing I know, another cop came up. He came up on the passenger side where I was and said, yeah, you sure you don't have anything in the car? Because the dog said he detected something. So in my mind, I'm like, I said, I'm sure I don't have anything in the car. I said, man, whatever. So then by this point, I literally watched like 2 or 3 cops, like literally tear the car up. Like they was pulling stuff apart. They did all of that. They did all this stuff to find nothing. So then the cop asked me that I was in the car with. He said, you know, do you want to stay in the car? Do you want to get out? At this point, while they were searching. So I said, no, I want to get out. Because in my mind, I'm like, nah, because if y'all are trying to plant something, I need to see exactly where y'all putting it. I'm not going to sit here. I'm like, nah, I need to get out. So when I got out, I'm watching these cops as they, you know what I'm saying? Because some of them are known for just planting stuff and say, yeah. So needless to say, I was out there for about maybe like an hour and a half. About an hour and a half. For them to find nothing and let me go. But it started by me going 5 miles over the speed limit. That then turned into I'm going to let you go because you're not from here. That then turned into me then I got frisked after I got out the car, which is weird because if I had a gun on me and I really wanted to use it, I could have used it on you in your own car. You had me up in the front seat. But
see, This is what I'm talking about right here.
And that was last year. I think it was last year or year
before. But you know, and I ain't gonna lie, me and my mother from Louisiana, and we as women, we got stopped 3 times. Because of my mother's car, we had 3 police to stop us, and when they rolled down the window, they thought we were men in there. We were racially profiled just going to Louisiana. And so more so in the South, it's more about traffic violations. And once you go up top further, New York, New Jersey, it's more about drugs. They don't really care about traffic up there. But down here, going south is always traffic, but which turns into something else. So for men and women, we all can get stopped.
Yeah, of course.
We all can. It can all turn into something else. But we need to hear more stories like this. And when y'all mentoring the young men, they need to hear these type of stories and how they should handle themselves. And Kern, you handle yourself very well.
Listen.
Because some men don't handle it very well. They get frustrated, they get angry, they get to cussing.
It took everything. It took everything in me, because the thing about it was, like I said, I was on live. So I, from time to time, I happened to look down on the phone, and people were actually giving me words of encouragement. That's essentially what kept me from going over the top.
Yeah.
Because I was looking down at my phone.
Because that would have gave them a reason. See, he was resistant.
Exactly.
He was coming to get the cop. And da-da-da-da-da-da. You've been another one locked up. We ain't got time for that.
We don't have time for that. So shout out to those people that gave me them encouraging words.
Shout out to the people that gave my boy Kern some encouraging words.
Much needed.
Wow. Well, Kern, we have taken up a lot of time, but I gotta bring Kern back. Because I want him to be a part of the fatherhood conversations, because having fathers are so important in any child's life.
Right.
So, but again, is there anything else that you want to leave in encouraging words to anybody that's going to look at this video before we go?
Well, thank you so much. Listen, guys, on some real, we can't be ashamed to help each other.
Yeah.
One thing that I notice sometimes within our community is the lack of accountability. We don't really like to take advice from other people. One thing that I love to do is take advice from someone. That's helping me grow, helping us all grow, and we can all come together, work together. It's gonna be hard, but especially times like now, we need each other. So we have to be, proper role models for not only our children, but for other people to look up to. There's somebody out there that's 50, 60 years old that's having a rough time through life, but doing something inspiring to help the community might spark the change in them, that it's not too late to change. So, because we have in our mind that we have to be a certain place at a certain time, but that's not necessarily the way God does things. So, you know what I mean? But we got to come together, support your community. Support is more than just money. It's time. Get out there, even if you can volunteer once a month to go do something. Just get up and do something, especially black men. Because that's what we lack. Black women support the community on a way different level than black men do. Like I said, how much time I got? I ain't going. I'm sorry, because I don't want to take over.
No, go ahead.
Yesterday we had at the Blueprint of Manhood session. We had this program. We've been up and running for about a year and a half. Yesterday was the first time that we had a father bring his son and actually sat in one of our sessions.
So would they bring him and drop him off?
Normally parents will either bring their kids.
Wow.
Now, of course, if you have something to do, by all means. But I'm just saying, for that was a huge moment, because that was the first time a father actually came, dropped his son off, but literally stayed in the session with his son. So we need to see more of that, because whatever especially in the educational field, I can't really name too many male black teachers I had.
It's true, because it's mostly us.
It's mostly women.
It's the women
mostly
that are
women.
teaching and raising all
And there's no disrespect to the women, but when it comes to dealing with issues in our community on the front line, men need to be on the front line, not women.
I agree, because we are not men. We don't know what it is to be one. We're not in the body. We don't have the mindset. We can only do the best we can. But that's why I agree with you. That's why I'm stating I want to bring more men on the platform and talk about this type of subject, so the next young man is watching this video can say, what he doing with his life? I'm trying to connect with him. I don't know what it is to talk to him, even though I've worked with boys for years, but I'm still not a man. And that's why I definitely agree. Come on out, fathers.
Come on out.
And have boys, be an example to your boys. Blueprint the Men. It sounds great, love it, and I actually want to attend myself.
Yeah, come on through. Our next session is...
When is the next session?
Our next session is April 28th at Mount Olivet Baptist Church, the Family Life Center. This one is special mainly because our next session, our young men themselves are planning. Like, we're not even coming up with a topic. They're going to come up with a topic. So whatever they want to talk about, It's just encouraging them to get active, but at the same time teaching them how to communicate, teamwork with each other, so holding themselves accountable. So they're essentially planning the program. So
you said April 28th, what time?
From 10 a.m. to 1 p.m.
To 1 p.m. Please, y'all come out and support. And no matter if you're Dinwiddie, Richmond, Hopewell, Petersburg, Colonia Heights, come out and support and build each other up. And you know, one thing that we can do, as you make one program, you connect other programs.
Right.
And you can do stuff for girls,
right,
stuff together for boys and girls,
right,
teenagers, and it can form one tree, can form other branches.
That's
so let's help
right
and make other businesses for each other.
Let's do that, man.
Let's do that. Put it up for the current man. Y'all know he'll preach on the inside.
Man, listen. Babe, people tell me that all the time.
Bishop.
I don't, hey, listen, I don't know, man. But I get that all the time. But,
Hey, it's all
if that's
good.
what it is, that's what it is.
That's what it is. All right, y'all. We are about to end the show with Keeping It Real with Candace. I am so proud of him. He did a wonderful job, and I am going to bring him back. Y'all have a good day. All right, bye.
Peace.